Hello. Just putting my lip balm on so I can talk for an hour and a half. These lives they're a lot of work because it's me just talking for an hour and a half. Hello. I'm just saying that these lives are actually kind of a lot of work because it's just me talking constantly for an hour and a half. So I got to make sure I've got my lip balm on, I got my water, and I'm learning how not to project so much, so I save my voice. So anyway, that's just me, or it's me talking out loud while we're waiting for people to turn up. So let me see. So I'm on Facebook right now. Then I'm going to go over to, in a half hour, I'm going to go over to Instagram. Then in a half hour, I'm going to go over to TikTok. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. All these lives are being saved on YouTube. So if you want to see something, maybe you asked a question, I started answering it and you had to go. Yeah, you can check it out. Anyway, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. From 3 to 12 years older, you can hire me for coaching. But right now I'm here to answer your parenting questions. And so any age, teenagers are my specialty. But if you can handle teenagers, any other age sort of seems a little bit easier. But yeah, because teenagers are more complex, right? They're my favorite age though. Anyway, so ask away. I'll just sit here waiting for your parenting questions. This is actually a good live because it's my least busy live, the Facebook one. So it means I get to most of the questions. The other ones I don't. So the Instagram is my busiest, and then TikTok's busy too. But this is my least busy live, so it means I can usually answer all the questions. So it's probably the best one for you to be on. So ask away, any parenting questions. Most of the questions that I get on lives are of toddlers. In coaching, it's older kids, usually on teenagers, but on lives, it seems to be mostly toddlers. But if you have teenagers or older kids, that's ask away. So it doesn't matter what age. And I do try and mix it up too. If I get a lot of toddler questions and I see an older kid question, I'll try and answer that just to mix it up a little bit. I haven't got any parenting questions, so I'm just going to yabber on a little bit. Do you know what your kid's love language is? You know, we all have a love language. Theirs is fun. If you play in their world with them, they feel more special and more loved at that moment than they probably ever do. So yeah, play is their love language, having fun with them in their world. So you watch a kid when you get down on the floor and play blocks with them or whatever, and just watch them. Look at their face. That's their love language. So that's why I use that as leverage. That was always what I used with kids when I was working with kids. Was being fun or funny with teenagers, humor. So yeah, that's their love language, is they like to laugh. They like to have fun. We all do though. My mom used to say, no one wants to be impressed or dragged down. They just want to have fun. And she was a brilliant socializer. Like everyone loved my mother. She was fun to be with. She was a very positive, nice, warm person. I remember one time you mentioned a client just wrote down everything. He said, yeah, it was really weird. If I were to get some sessions, would you be against me recording our sessions? Yeah, you can record them. Lots of people do. I don't say anything. It's not recordable. So yeah, you can do that. What this person is referring to, what's your name? Tara Lee. Tara Lee. Actually, I've worked with a few Tara Lees. That's quite common. Must be in that age group. Anyway, what she's referring to is I was working with this one client once, and you know, you think you've seen it all. I've been doing this forever. So not forever. Anyway, so she wasn't saying anything. And she had 3 or 5 sessions. I can't remember which. I would talk and she never hardly moved. It was almost like I was wishing she'd blink. So I knew she wasn't just, she'd gone out, right? So it's all done. All coaching is done on Zoom. She just would look down every so often, and then she'd look up, and then she'd look down a lot. And I don't know why I didn't confront her on it. Normally I would say, come on, ask questions. You're paying money. This is for you, right? I don't know why I never even asked her. 2 weeks in a row she did that. And then the 3rd week, and showing no emotions, nothing. And she was struggling, if I asked her questions, she was struggling with her kids. Anyway, by week 3, she turned up like this. And I said, what's going on? She goes, it's working. And I said, what's working? And she goes, everything you said, I just did it. And I said, what do you mean? She showed me her notebook. She'd written down virtually everything I'd said and made her own notes about it. She must have been gone to university for years or something. Her notes were unbelievable. They were so well laid out. You know, people who are really good at note taking don't start at the top and go down. They sort of start halfway across so they can go back and cross reference. Like, it's really interesting. Anyway, she was not questioning anything. She wrote down everything I said and she just did it, and it was working. She said, I'm just a really good listener. She goes, I when I'm told to do something, I'm really good at doing it. And she was really quiet, sweet lady. But yeah, so the lesson there is that a lot of people get caught up in their own heads, and they ask a lot of questions about, but why this, why that? And, you know, not that I mind being questions. That was, you know, I love answering all that stuff, but it's kind of gets in the way. If you just sort of listen to what I'm telling you and just apply it, that's when I think people get the best results. The problem is a lot of people are emotionally distraught. They need me to talk them off the cliff, or, you know, kind of like that in coaching. But yeah, she just took notes, never asked me one question, nothing, just took notes and did it. It's bizarre. It was just bizarre. But the results she got was great. Yeah, anyone can record the sessions. I ain't got no secrets. You do. Like, I'm very protective of you. I would never record you. But yeah, it's your money. You pay me. You can record it. What's a good age for a phone? I can't answer that. That's subjective. It's a personal choice, and no one knows the answer. That's why. If anyone really knew the answer, they would tell you, but nobody knows the answer to that. It's like, what age should they start dating? You know, you kind of have a range, but nobody really knows. It depends on maturity, responsibility, social pressures, what's going on at school, if all the kids have phones, and, you know, so yeah, I can't answer that. I would say generally 12 or 13, but, you know, I know most kids have it younger, though. The thing is, parents are afraid of what their kids are going to see online, because it's the internet they're afraid of, not the texting and that. It's the internet. Anyway, here's the thing, and they can send anyway. Here's the problem. If you're worried about what your kids are going to see online, if you think you can protect them from that, you're wrong. They're going to have kids at school who can get access to anything online. They're going to see it through other kids' phones. They're going to go to friends' houses, and the older siblings might show the little kids something. So it's better to inform them on what's out there, age appropriate. But if they do see something, you're going to have to, you know, crank that up a little bit and get into it. But yeah, it's quite scary what kids have access to these days. But you can't protect them from it as hard as you try. They're going to see it at school, and, you know. Okay, here's the thing. Really good question, Kat Harris. What's the best way to teach no at 9 months? We are trying to teach my son not to pull hair. Okay, here's the thing. You can teach them what no means, but getting them to follow through and not doing it, it's the impulse, the lack of impulse control. So teaching them, so in other words, you're saying, how do we stop a little wee one from having it? I mean, how do we give them impulse control? I haven't got a clue. You can teach them right from wrong, but good luck with them just deciding to do it. Okay, that's on them. Like, they might maybe even at 10 months old. I've seen little babies. Like, was looking after these babies once, and one was a biter and would bite the other one's head or go for it. And I said no, and they didn't know me either. And I just said no, and I pulled them away. The next time they went to bite, they looked at me like this, and then they didn't bite. That was the youngest I ever saw that work. Yeah, they could have been even younger. They were really young. Anyway, but other kids are going to keep biting and biting and biting. That child obviously, I don't know. Can't figure that out. Anyway, how do you handle early wake-ups? 2-year-old goes to bed at 8 after doing a well-established. Okay, so there's not much I can help you with the early wake-ups, because once they're up, they're up. So the only thing I can suggest is maybe cut down on the daytime naps. So maybe they're getting too much sleep. That's why they're waking up early. So my kids both stopped regular napping at 12 months old. They had accidental naps, but they stopped regular daily naps at 12 months old, both of them. They just didn't need a lot of sleep. So yeah, anyway, so yeah. Can't help you with the early wake-ups. I just can't. You're wide awake, go back to bed. Like, good luck with that. You know, you got to manage how long they're sleeping for and when you want that to happen. Yes, we say no more sternly, and he does understand. Yeah, they can understand, but it doesn't mean they're going to follow suit. You know what I'm saying? They can understand things, potentially, at a very young age, but whether or not they're going to listen to you is a different thing. This is what a lot of people say, how do we get my toddler to listen to me? And I'm like, I don't know. Good luck with that. With toddlers, not babies. Toddlers start at 16 months. 16 to 35 months to me is a toddler. You're teaching them right from wrong by consistent corrective action. The word no doesn't mean much to them. It just, I start it, I say no, and then I take action. It's just a signal that I'm going to be taking action. So I use consistent corrective actions. So if they're doing something I don't like, I say no, and then I stop that action. But yeah, the word no doesn't mean much to them. It's actions. They learn through repetition. They're not going to listen the first. So I got to turn the heater down just a sec. Whoops, too hot. Okay. And you know, the thing is with toddlers and with teenagers, this is what I see all the time, is there's nothing wrong with teenagers or toddlers. They're my favorite. No, toddlers are not my favorite ages. I hate going out with toddlers because you have to watch them like a hawk because the danger, you know, at every turn there's danger for toddlers because they're all feet, no brains. Anyway, but teenagers, they're my favorite age. But toddlers and teens are the two most notoriously difficult ages to parent. Toddlers are demanding physically and teenagers are demanding emotionally. The problem that parents have is that you don't understand them. Your expectations are completely out of whack. Teenagers are very easy to deal with once you know how to deal with them. Toddlers, no, they're just nuts. They're crazy. They don't make any sense. They haven't formed sense yet. So, but yeah, it's your lack of understanding of them that's the problem. Everyone says, well, how do we get a perfect toddler that listens to everything we say? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want from me? Like, that's impossible. Unless they're just born. My daughter was born very easy. She was kind of like that. Nothing I did, though. My son was normal, but my daughter was born. She just didn't like any kind of confrontation. So even if I looked at her sternly and she was doing something I didn't like, I'd go like that, and she'd just stop doing it. It was bizarre. I'd never seen such an easy kid in my life. Okay, so this is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect and bond with a toddler and start your leadership skills, you play with them in their world. They just look at you differently. You don't take them to the nail salon, you go to the park and roll down the hill with them. I call it toddler-led play. So you play in their world. It's just a different connection. Number 4 is kind of similar. You discipline in their world too. If you want to discipline a toddler under the age of 3 as a toddler, it's consistent corrective actions, not words. You know, all these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big emotions and their big feelings. It's a bunch of garbage. I don't know whoever came up with that. Those toddlers do not need therapy sessions. It is absolute crap. That stuff was invented to feed the mother's needs. It has nothing to do with the toddler. I was so frustrated when I saw that coming in. The only reason it became popular is the moms liked it, but it's not for the toddler. The moms are being misled with all that stuff. Anyway, number 5, obviously I get very heated because I've been up against that stuff. I think it's going out of style because people are realizing it didn't work. So anyway, and number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. Okay, imagine if you're 2 years old and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. You've got one marble and some tumbleweed in there. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Don't try and figure them out. Okay. These mini therapy sessions. Oh my goodness. Another thing that goes along with that is when you get down on their level and you say, use your words. Is that the most snotty, patronizing thing you could ever say to someone? In other words, be more like me. Calm down. It is so patronizing and it's so not in their world. It's like you're saying to them, find your inner adult. You're not good enough as you are. They are. They're communicating in their world. All that kicking and screaming and headbanging is their world. That is their words. So respect that. Frustrates me. It's under the umbrella of the pleaser parent style, pleasing your children, making everything easy for them, giving them participation awards just for turning up. Are you freaking kidding me? Talk about raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. You didn't validate my feelings. I'm just the bus driver lady. Like, that's what you're raising, these victims, these weak victims that expect the red carpet to be rolled out everywhere they go. You're not preparing them for the real world. The funny thing is, pleaser parents are often usually yellers too. So they yell and then they're trying to roll out the red carpet at the same. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. The reason they yell is because the pleaser parent style, with no leadership at all, the pleaser parent style is not disciplining children. So you've got rude children, disrespectful children, then the parents go nuts and they start yelling. You see, it's just a mess. What do you suggest with whining if you say telling them use your words is patronizing? Well, you don't say use your words. Like, What are you saying? What do I do instead of use your words? Anything else, pretty much. Like, yeah. So whining, just if they're 3 and above, they can understand this. I would say, look, when you talk like this, I want that. I'm not even going to answer you anymore because that's very rude. Nobody likes that. I want that. So yeah, that's what I would say. If they're 3 and over, you're going to have to repeat that a few times and then say, but if you talk nicely, and then show them how to talk nicely. May I please have? I would say the answer may still be no, but at least I'll answer you. Okay. And then they'll eventually learn. So she's 2. Is this the whiner? Yeah, just ignore what you don't like and then when they talk nicely, then you give them attention. They're not going to learn right away. Whining is usually a learned behavior. In other words, they don't come out of the womb whining. They've learned that it gets under your skin and gets them what they want. Even at 2, they've figured that out usually. So yeah, it's a learned, you've taught them to do that usually. You know what's interesting is when I've looked after kids, I've never had a kid whine with me. Then the mother will come pick them up. And I'm like, wow, like, because I don't give that any attention. Yeah. So I don't think I've ever had kids, I've had them try, but it doesn't last with me. So because they know it doesn't work with me. And even little wee ones kind of pick up on that. How do you correct when a 2-year-old throws an item at another person? Do you take away the item and then what? Just take away the item. You say no and you take that item away and put it where they can see it, but can't touch it. So, and then just keep doing that. It's consistent corrective actions. You don't keep following through. They live right in the moment. If you keep going on and on and on and on, if you focus on the bad behavior too much, you're messing things up. I always say you deal with the bad behavior, get it quick, get it over and done with, and then focus on the good kid. Go right back to normal really fast. So no, and you put that item away, and then you go back to normal, just talking, and they do it again, no, then you put that another item away. Everyone wants to focus on the bad kid. How do we fix this kid? And then they want to give them lectures, the mini therapy sessions. I think it's mean. You've heard the pool story a million times. I won't go into it here. I just don't feel like telling it right now. But yeah, the pool story explains that. You deal with bad behavior very quickly, get it over and done with, and then you focus on the good kid. Bring out the best in kids. If you're always focusing on the bad and showing them what not to do, how do they know what to do? That was what I did. I always focused on the good kid. I was always focusing on what I wanted from them, not what I didn't. It's a switch. The whole basis of leadership parenting is not about discipline at all. It's about leadership. It's about being fun and being friends with kids and them liking you. The discipline is a tiny, tiny, tiny part of it. But that's what everyone asks. So that's why I'm answering that. But yeah, a lot of parents in coaching are quite surprised by that. They say, well, you're not even talking much about the discipline. I know, because that's not what I'm all about. I'm focused more on the good kid, bonding with them, connecting with them, becoming friends with your kids. That's where the power is. Because when they look up to you like a mentor and they really feel safe with you, they like you, they feel good about themselves when they're with you, when you bring out the best in them, they want to please you. That's your power. The leadership is your power, not the discipline. The discipline is just a yucky part of it. My girls, oh God, you're going to hate me. Sorry about this, Dan. My girls are 3 and love, so they must be twins, and love candy. How do I get them to eat good food? I had no junk food in the house, so my kids had no options. It's either you eat broccoli or cauliflower. There's no ice cream waiting for them. So yeah, that's your choice. You are feeding them candy. So you are in charge of what they eat, right? They're 3. Gets harder at 13. But at 3, yeah, I was totally in control of what my kids ate. So there was literally no junk food in the house at all. This is on YouTube. Okay, yeah. This is from Jonathan on YouTube. Jonathan Rodriguez. I said that right, didn't I? I said that name horribly once. I had to practice it afterwards. Not the Jonathan, the Rodriguez. Oh, I said it so stupid. It was embarrassing. Anyway, my 2-year-old son is eating into the crib, wood chips everywhere. Mother-in-law says to put hot sauce. I think it's just so dumb for many reasons. What should we do? At 2 years old, they could potentially be in a bed. And if they were eating a crib, boy, that could be dangerous. I wouldn't put hot sauce on it. No, I agree. I wouldn't do that. But I'm not. I'm not going to insult your mother-in-law. But I just wouldn't. If you really want them still in the crib, I think you can actually get like metal cribs or something. But I almost would be tempted to put them in a toddler bed. Yeah. Oh my God, that's dangerous. Just think about it. They could swallow a wood chip. So yeah, I'd get rid of that thing so fast. Just put the mattress on the floor with pillows around it, and yeah. I actually have a bedtime battles course if you want to learn how to get kids into bed and keep them there. It starts at the age of 2 if you're interested. It's one of my mini toddler courses. But yeah, geez, that scares the bejeebies out of me. Thought that they could swallow wood chips. What about a 2-year-old that just got the shivers thinking about it. What about a 2-year-old that just wants to be carried and cries and tugs at your legs the entire time while cooking, cleaning, etc.? Get them started with stuff and then sort of walk away like this. Oh, okay, I'll be right back, and then go do your own thing. And but yeah, get them started with stuff. It's not just it's always parents want to learn how to stop the bad behavior, but you got to teach them what to do instead. So say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make some Play-Doh, or I'm going to cook up some pasta, and you can play with that while I'm cooking. So you got to get them something else to do. Yeah. We just asked nail picking. I don't know. Are they 16, 6, 2? I don't know. You need to put in ages in these questions, or else I can't answer them. Okay, I'm just going to read out. No one's asked about teenagers, but in case you have teenagers, I'm going to read these top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Teenagers are how I started my business. They're my favorite age because once you master how to communicate with teenagers and get respect with them, mutual respect, they're kind of easy. So anyway, these are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will tune you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. So don't nag. And the second one is negotiate pretty much everything. You say something like this: hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? You got to give to take. You see what I mean? It's not with everything, but that's it's just planting a seed there. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Save your energy for the big stuff if you even need it. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, this is what I would have said. I would have said to my kids, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did at your age? And then we'd laugh it off. Everyone makes mistakes. It's okay. You used to make mistakes. That's okay. We're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for pretty good, the best that you can be kind of thing. But even that, we're still not going to be perfect all the time. You tend to expect way more from your kids than you do from yourself. It's quite interesting. That's why I was accountable. My kids kept me that way. Boy, they had a voice. So I was very accountable. They brought out the best in me too. That's interesting because I never thought about that. But yeah, you bring out the best in your kids, and when you're accountable, they will also bring out the best in you. Good one, Lisa. Why didn't I think of that before? Just a sec. I gotta write that down. Sorry, I have to get this down because I just thought of that, and it's such a good one. You bring out the best in your kids, and they bring out the best in you when you are accountable. Do you get why that's such a big deal to me? Do you get why I had to write that down? You bring out the best in your kids by being a leader, and they bring out the best in you by you being accountable. If I messed up, my kids were all over it. Mom, don't you think you were being a little bit unreasonable there? And I go, yeah, what do you want? So you got to be accountable. Anyway, can I get some thumbs up with that? Do you understand why that's such a big message? I'm gonna put that somewhere. Do you understand why that's such a big message? Yeah. If your kids aren't bringing out the best in you, so you're missing out. My kids, I'll tell you, I learned more about life. I actually was working with troubled teenagers. They taught me more about life and myself than probably anyone ever did. Wasn't always easy, believe me. But these were delinquent, violent teenagers, some of them. And yeah, they brought out the best in me for sure. I had no idea I had that much patience. And I had to be patient because I knew what I was going to do, what I was doing was going to pay off, but I had to wait. I had to wade through some sludge to get there. And yeah, anyway, okay. Okay, this one's interesting, and I don't know quite what to say about it, but I'll read it out. It's from Sam46 on YouTube. My kids are constantly wrestling, 2 and almost 5. The little one is the instigator. Sometimes I can't just jump in because I'm doing dishes or trying to. Is it common with siblings, both boys? Uh, I always hesitate to comment on this. I'll tell you why. I never wrestled with my kids, neither did my husband. So we never wrestled with them. You know why? I've worked with so many kids that parents have wrestled with and they've turned into aggressive kids because they grow up thinking physical, attacking people. Because think about it this way, when they're wrestling with a parent, they can use a lot of strength. And then they start school or daycare, all of a sudden they're pinning little kids down to the ground. So it can cause problems. But here's where I'm kind of in an awkward position. A lot of my dads in my coaching love to wrestle with their kids. I'm not going to take that away from them. If that's a loving thing that they do with their kids, I don't even criticize it. Like I just say, look, if it's working for you, keep doing it. And I don't even want to say don't do it, but it can cause problems is all I'm going to say. So use with caution. And I'll even use it in the dad's consequence. So if he yells, he has to wrestle with the kids for 10 minutes because that's their favorite thing to do together. It's how they show they love each other, the kids and the dad. So I'm not going to take that away from them. But it's not something I would have done. Does that make any sense? But yeah, I wouldn't take that away. That's how they show love. That's how they connect. So, but it can cause problems when they go to school and they wrestle with kids who are their same size and they're really good at wrestling with an adult man. And then you can see how it can cause some problems. Okay, sorry, I've got to scroll ahead because sometimes people leave and I don't want to answer their question if they're not here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is from Alexis. How can I help my almost 6-year-old manage his emotions? You don't. It happens organically when you're a leader. You don't help a child manage that. You don't micromanage a child's emotions. You don't help a child self-regulate. All this garbage that's out there, it's just crap. When you're a leader, it calms them down and their emotions organically regulate. Does that make sense? When you're a leader, they feel safe, they feel good about themselves, they have high self-esteem, they like themselves, their emotions tend to calm down. It happens organically when you're a leader. Check out my boot camp course. It teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. If you don't want that, my free behavior board's it's all in the same link above there. But yeah, you can't help someone self-regulate. I know it's a trendy thing to talk about. Oh, you got to help your kids self-regulate. It's just crap. It doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out how on earth that doesn't make any sense at all to me. It's all about therapy sessions. Little children do not need therapy sessions unless there's abuse going on. And even that's all done usually through play, right? Well, if you're not familiar with it, therapy with little children is done through play if they've been through something traumatic. So yeah, they don't sit and have discussions on a couch with a kid laying down. That's what you're trying to do with your little ones. But anyway, so you don't manage their emotions. You become a leader and their emotions calm down. It's just I'll tell you a funny story and then I got to go over to Instagram. It was a whole bunch of moms. We were going into the classroom and I had a lot of experience in classrooms. I used to help out teachers every day. So just as a support for the teachers with the difficult kids. So anyway, one day a whole bunch of moms were asked to come in and we split the classroom up into groups and we were doing individual activities. And the moms all thought I was really tough because I really talk quite tough. I like to act tough. I don't know why, it's just stupid. Kids see past it, but parents don't obviously sometimes. They couldn't figure out why the kids were so good with me. Like their groups were all chaotic and my kids were, not only were they good, they were having fun, right? It was all so organized and fun and everything. Anyway, the fire alarm went. And it was unscheduled. Some kid had pulled it and it scared the kids. So this is grade 2. Now there was moms and teacher there, a young teacher. She wasn't a really experienced teacher. And all the kids ran to me, not their moms, not the teacher. Why would they run to me? Because I was the strongest leader in the room. I made them feel safe. I made them feel calm. So that's what leadership does for children. It makes them feel calm and safe. They didn't like me or love me more than their mothers or the teacher, but I was the strongest leader in the room. I made them feel safe. That's what leadership does for children. Anyway, I got to go over to Instagram now. That is my busiest live, so I won't get to a tenth of the questions over there. So if you want to join me, if you want to ask questions over there, I might get to them. But I just wanted to warn you, this is my slowest live, so I get to most of the questions on here. Anyway, I'm moving over now. I'm on YouTube the whole time. And it's also, all my lives are saved on YouTube if you're interested. It's all Bratbusters Parenting. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and happy parenting. Okay, moving over to YouTube. No, Instagram. Here we go. Yeah, we don't wrestle with them. I don't want to get into that right now because I'd have to go through the whole thing again. But yeah, it just brought up a really good point for me to go on about it, because that comes up a lot, is wrestling with your kids. Yeah. Plus, you didn't say that they were angry with each other or hurting each other. That's different. Are they just play wrestling, or are they hurting each other? I'm talking to someone on YouTube. Anyway, welcome everyone. I'm on Instagram now. I just came from Facebook, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. If you check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, or one of my mini toddler courses, or my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. That's all about you. It focuses on your leadership. And number 4 is not number 4. Anyway, the last one is coaching one-on-one with me. I do that on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you live. But I only speak English. So I know I get people from all over the world, and they often ask me what other languages I speak. I can barely handle English. So yeah, I'm not smart enough to speak another language. Do you recommend a bedtime routine chart for 5-year-old? I have a bedtime battles course if you're interested. It just goes through all that. It's 2 parts. The first part is a bedtime routine, getting them to bed. Then the second one is keeping them in bed. So the bedtime, yeah, you absolutely have to have a bed. Now, this is the thing. I never had anything I never used any of this stuff with my own kids because I was already a leader. But these tools that I talk about, the behavior board, the bedtime, the charts and all that, that's for when you're learning how to be a leader. Okay. After a while, you won't need any of that. But yeah, just say at 7 o'clock, we start the bedtime routine. That means that we have a bath, we get in our jammies, then we read to you for 20 minutes in bed, then lights out and you go to sleep. So, and you got to keep that consistent, absolutely consistent. If it's not, it doesn't work. Unless you got really easy kids. If you're a leader, anything works. Like I don't remember having a set bedtime for my kids, and I have no memory of ever telling them to go to bed. I would just say, oh, it's around 8 now. I should probably go off to bed, or else I'd get them in the tub. But there was just sort of easy. When you're a leader and it's really cemented, you don't need any of this other stuff. You just sort of say, oh, how about bedtime now? Or else a good show would be on. I'd say, oh, let's get in the bath, then you can come sit with me and we'll watch this show together till it's over. So everything's so easy when you are a leader. So it's not like you have to work at this all the time. Once you get your leadership cemented, piece of cake right through the teen years. I don't know why I did that. I was trying to be cool. I wasn't trying to be cool. I just did it for no reason. Okay. How to stop my 2-year-old from sucking her thumb? It's always such a tough one because it's not like you can put her thumb in a baggie and throw it away, right? So, and I don't believe in that bitters and all that. Doesn't seem to work. So I would just say every single time she goes for her thumb, have a replacement. Say, oh, no sucking your thumb, and give her something else. Is it going to work? I haven't got a clue. It's a tough one. They usually grow out of it, usually. Although I knew someone who sucked his thumb. I think he did it in his sleep till he was like 10 or 12 years old. And even as an adult, has no thumbprints. Isn't that interesting? He sucked his thumb for so long, he has no thumbprints. He'd be a really good criminal. Yeah, they could never get him thumb. I guess with DNA now, he'd be out of luck. Okay. Fairness was when one is 5, has to use the behavior board, and the other 2-year-old doesn't. I've never heard of that being a problem. 2-year-olds don't usually pick up on that. You say to the 5-year-old, you're a big boy or you're a big girl. That's why you're on it. Same with us, because you're on it too. Say when you were 2, you wouldn't have been on it. See, I don't get into that because if you start explaining yours, I would just say it's just the way it is. Like, 2-year-olds aren't on there. If you were 2, you wouldn't be on here. Also, they start getting allowance at 3, or that you should be paying allowance at 3. I'd say, well, the 2-year-old isn't getting allowance either, but they will when they're 3. You see? So yeah, I don't explain myself. If I had to, here's the thing. My kids never questioned me, but when I was working with kids, every so often I'd do this. And I'd get a real snotty kid that I was working. Well, why do we do that? Why, why? And they asked me to explain myself, which I don't normally do. Every so often I'd get a really difficult kid who was older, like 10 or 11. And I would explain whatever I said, do you really want me to explain why we're doing this? Okay, so the first reason why and I go on, and they're like, never mind. Like I just drag it out. So yeah, leaders don't explain themselves. You don't need to, because you're so calm, you're so clear, and you're fair and reasonable. My son was 15 and he said to me, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. That's a leader. There was nothing to rebel against. But also, if they'd done anything bad, had they, you know what I mean? I would have been mom. So yeah, I never had to though. Well, that was quick. 26 to 80. I love it. 26 to 80. What's 26 to 80? People turning up. Is that what you're talking about? Instagram's that everyone turns up in a clump. It's like you all live together and you all turn up together. It's really weird. It's the only one that I'm assuming you're talking about that, but I often bring this up. In Instagram, when I do a live, everyone turns up at once. All the other platforms, they peter in slowly. But Instagram, they're all like within 15 seconds, I've usually got 100 people. I don't know why. Anyway. Okay. You're not going to like my answer here, Colleen Hill. I have a 1-week-old baby at home. How do I teach my 2.5-year-old toddler to be gentle and keep the baby safe? You can't. How can a 2.5-year-old understand soft spots, concussions, brain bleeds, seizures, broken necks, death? They can't understand any of that. So all you have to do is supervise. That's it. They'll eventually get tired of looking at the baby and bugging it. So, because you're always intervening. So you just have to keep that baby safe. You cannot teach that. You're asking me to teach a 2.5-year-old how to understand all that medical stuff and safety and life and death. And it's an unreasonable expectation. Can't be done. I had a friend obviously a long time ago. Both are little, like my son's 34 now and he was 2. And I had a friend who had a 2-year-old boy and they played beautifully together. So we used to get together with the little boys. Anyway, she had a little girl, baby girl. And her son was like mine. They were really gentle little boys. They never hit anybody or anything. They were just, that's why we got together so often. They were very similar and they played beautifully together. Anyway, she had this baby, darling little baby girl. And behind her back, her little boy, I guess was just sick of this baby crying. She was only like a week old, went in the nursery, took her out of the bassinet and threw her on the ground. He didn't understand concussions, broken necks, and the baby was fine, but scared. The parents, they would not have expected that. So, and he was a very sweet, gentle little boy, but he was sick of this thing. He thought, oh, it was cute in the hospital. Now all of a sudden they're home and they're taking my mommy and daddy away from me and it's crying and it's, you see, your expectations of them is off. No, I know you get a notification, but so does Facebook. So does TikTok, but they still peter in slowly. Yeah, I don't know why. And I don't know why I even care about that. Like, why does it bother me so much? Because I don't even do my Instagram or anything. I don't do any of this. So I don't understand it. Why does that bother me? I guess because I don't understand it. Why everyone gets the same notifications at the same time on all the platforms, but everywhere else they peter in. But Instagram, everyone turns up in a clump. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But anyway, I waste my time thinking about stuff that's completely irrelevant, and that's one of them. Is your granddaughter is cold with bluish feet? Oh, good grief. I get some kooky people. Okay. Plus you get kids on here. Sometimes I'll start reading something and I go, why did I start reading that? That's why I have to read really quick and sort of see that it's okay. Okay. Examples of consequences for 25-month-old not listening to instruction. Kids don't listen to instructions. Time for bed or let's put on your shoes. You just make it happen. Say, okay, it's bath time. And then if they don't come, you go and get them and make it happen anyway. You tell them what's going to happen. And you don't do this with absolutely everything, but stuff that has to happen. Give them a bit of warning. We're going to have a bath soon. Okay. We're going to have a bath in a few minutes. See when that timer goes off or whatever, and then just make it happen. You say it once and then you take action. So, okay, bath time now. If my kids didn't come running, I went and got them. That's why they always came running. So, because they knew mom was going to take action. No anger. Just, I said, it's bath time. You're getting in the bath. I made it happen. It's like if I said, I'm going to change your nappy now. And I raised my kids in Australia. It's a nappy over there. So I'm going to change your diaper now. And if they ran the other way, I'd go get them and change their diaper. No anger. Just mom made things happen. So they get used to that. I don't keep talking about it. It's all these words. They make you look weak. Makes you look like you're scared of them. I said it's bedtime. Okay, put your shoes on. Okay, now come on. Remember, put your shoes. I would never talk like that. Say, okay, we got to go out the door. Get your shoes. Let's go. If they didn't, I go and get them. I grab their shoes. They're in the car, buckled in, and I put the shoes on the floor. I'll put them on when we get there. I take action. And then they learn when mom says something, it's going to happen. No anger, though. It's the anger that gets you in trouble because you have to keep nagging and going on, and they don't have any respect for you. My kids knew when I said something's going to happen, it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen. Just laughing back. Can't remember exactly the situation, but I remember one of my kids decided to run the opposite direction, and they heard my slipper. I always had the slipper sound because I always had slippers on, the clip clop of my slippers. And so they heard me coming down the hall, and they just stopped dead in their tracks and turned around and came down. They just gave up because I thought, well, mom's going to make it happen anyway. No anger. They weren't upset. It was just, oh, it's going to happen anyway. I may as well, because I was a leader. They knew it. Although their dad, they probably would have kept running. There's usually one leader in the family and a pleaser. It works if the pleaser defers to the leader. So if you're on the same page, in other words, if the pleaser is not sort of respecting the leader, then it can be a bit of a disaster. But there usually is a pleaser and a leader. If there's going to be a leader, there's usually a pleaser or a little bit of a lesser leader. It's just the way it works. What we used to do is they would definitely, if I wasn't around, they would push their dad around more. But then it got to the point they got a little bit older, like maybe 2.5 or 3. And then he would start to say, do you want me to tell mom? And they'd go, oh, never mind. And I never even did anything. It's just, they just know who the leader is, right? That's like my dad was definitely the pleaser. And I would say behind mom's back, I'd say to my dad, Dad, can I please do that? And he'd go, sure, sweetie pie. He gave me everything I ever asked for. Then he'd go like this. He'd say, let's just check with your mom. And I'd say, oh, never mind. Because my mom would have said, don't give her that. She doesn't need it. So it works. You take on sensory play before end? I don't know what you're talking about. My son has bursts of needing to roughhouse it. I don't know what you're talking about. I have twins, 17 months. It's hard not to lose it sometimes. Yeah, it is. The thing is that when you go into parenting, you got to understand they're going to go nuts sometimes, and you just have to psych up for it. I don't like loud kids. Like, I don't like loud, screaming, fun, all that kind of stuff. I learned how to deal with it. I hated birthday parties. I mean, my fillings in my teeth were vibrating, that loud, chaotic stuff. But that's part of having kids. So yeah, you just have to learn it's just part of it. Yeah. Ideal age to potty train. They're all different. I have a potty class course. It's in the link above if you're interested. And I suggest 2.5. They might be 2, they might be 3, but 2.5 is a pretty good age. I trained my son in 1 day and my daughter in 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But yeah, I was already a leader, so it made it easier. They already knew when mom said something, it was going to happen. But it was a whole party. It's all positive. Potty training should be a positive experience. It's messy, but it should be a fun, positive experience. You're probably rolling your eyes at me right now. That's okay. Okay, how do I make my 2-year-old eat? Can you make some videos on that? I don't, because that's in the nutrition medical department, sort of. I skirt around that one. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I teach relationships, parent-child relationships. So I can't really talk about nutrition and food. It kind of, I can just talk about what I did with my kids. But yeah, I don't get into that. I'm pretty careful with that stuff. So, and you have to put the age. When you talk about focusing on the good stuff. So I always say that you deal with the bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. I'm going to tell you the pool story because it's the best story I have for what I mean by that. It's a true story. My son was 8 years old and he had his birthday party. We had a pool in the backyard. So we had 5 8-year-old boys in the pool, 6 8-year-old, 5 friends over. So it was 6 8-year-old boys in the pool, and it was just me. And and I'm a safety freak. So anyway, all I'm doing is counting heads the whole time. So before they went in the pool, we had this big blow up whale. And I said, Whaley cannot go in the pool because I can't see behind Whaley. So 3 little boys could die right in the pool. I wouldn't even know it, right? So anyway, I'm using humor with it, but I was very clear. And I said, no, Whaley stays over there. Sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley into the pool. So I said, Whaley, out of the pool now. And he said to me, no. My son went like this, because he knows mom knows how to take care of business. I was in the pool fully clothed, and I had that kid out sitting beside me like that before he even knew what happened. And I said, you're going to sit there for 10 minutes. And my son got Whaley out of the pool. Now I'm counting 5 heads. This is what I'm doing with this kid. I said to him, hey, I saw you in the soccer game the other day. And then he starts talking about his soccer game. And then I said, Oh, and remember that I worked with him on a test at school, and I said, oh, and that test that you did at school, that was really good. And then what's your favorite PlayStation game? He's talking, having a blast. So I dealt with the bad behavior. Now I'm focusing on the good kid. I'm dragging it out of him. If I didn't work to get that good kid out of him, I wouldn't have seen it, right? So anyway, I'm working it. I'm working it because this is what I do. I'm really good at getting the best out of kids. That's sort of my thing. So anyway, I'm working it. Now he's talking away, bragging about everything he does. It's so wonderful. I'm going, wow, good for you. That's great. Wow, what a kid. Oh boy, that sounds good. I could never do that. You're so clever. And he's like this. He's feeling great about himself. The 10 minutes is up. And I said, okay, 10 minutes is up. Go back in the pool and have fun. Couldn't get rid of him. He kept sitting there talking to me. Couldn't get rid of this kid. Finally, I kept looking at my son, help. And finally, my son got him back in the pool because they were going to play basketball. Anyway, he was all over me all afternoon. Lisa, can I help you with this? Can I help you do the cake? And I couldn't get rid of that kid all afternoon. So that's how you focus on the good kid. Now, if I had focused and discussed and done the therapy sessions about what he did wrong, how nasty is that? Dragging him down. And then I'm focusing on the bad kid. It becomes their identity. I deal with bad behavior like that. Like I pulled him out of the pool. I was fully clothed, by the way. I was in that pool fully clothed, dragged him out and sat him down beside me. And I was very clear. I did not say why. They're not stupid. He knew why I pulled him out. Also, and when I said, okay, 10 minutes is up, go back in the pool, I would not say, don't take Whaley in the pool again. I would have erased all the good work I just did. Right? That's to me is leadership. Deal with bad behavior, but then focus on the good kid. Drag it out. You might have to search for it. I used to work with delinquent teenagers, and I used to say, look, I need something to like. I said, you're quite repugnant right now. And they'd laugh. So you got to drag it out. And humor, I can always work with humor. So that's how I sort of worked with teenagers too. So I was always trying to find their humor or find something that they were proud of. It's not always what they're good at. What kids are proud of is not always what they're good at. There's a big difference between that. I did a video on that once too, and I think it's in one of my courses, I think. I don't know where it is, but anyway, I did a whole section on that. And I said, work with their pride, not their ability. Like, don't keep telling them how athletically gifted they are or beautiful or smart. They can't take pride in that stuff. And it might not be what they like. Like, focus on what makes them feel good. Find it, look for it, and that's what you focus on. Oh, geez, I could go on about that one. That's a big subject, isn't it? Yeah, I love all that. I love figuring kids out. Okay, how do you deal with tantrums in public? So I always say you ignore tantrums, just let them have at it, and you're filing your nails. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go. But if it's somewhere like church or a restaurant, you wouldn't pull other people through that. I would move them out to the parking lot or in the car, and then I would ignore them. I still wouldn't talk to them. I would just pick them up and drag them out or whatever you got to do. Get them out of the restaurant. It's not fair to do that to other people. The only exception to not ignoring tantrums, and if they're sick or something, that's different, but is on an airplane. If I was on a plane with a tantruming kid, I would give them whatever they want. I don't want people to have to shove us out that emergency exit door. Yeah, I don't think that's fair to other people. So on a plane, you're all trapped together for hours. And yeah, I would give them whatever they want on that airplane. And they'll associate that with airplanes and how often are you going to do that realistically? But yeah, who cares? It's just you got to save the day, right? It's the only public tantrum that I would cater to is on an airplane. But yes, your advice totally works. Well, I'm taking care of my 21-month-old grandson. I tell him one time, I can tell him he wants to give me attitude, but I feel as though he looks at me like a leader. Yeah, you don't repeat yourself. As soon as you repeat yourself, they're thinking in their heads, loser. It's just the way it is. Because I say, okay, we're going to be going now. Let's go get your shoes. If they don't come when I call them like that and make it very clear what we're going to do, yeah, I just take action. I'm walking over, picking them up, and making it happen. And they learn. They like it. Children naturally are drawn to a leader. I was popular with kids. They like being around me. I was fun. I was a leader. They like that. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel good about themselves too, because they have pride in themselves when they're treated, because they like themselves when they're with me. Therefore, they want to please me. Does that make sense? Anyway, that's how you get the best out of kids. Make them feel good about themselves. Bring out the best in them. Also, all this false, you're wonderful, you're special, everybody loves you. All that false compliment crap doesn't work. If kids are acting out and being nasty and rude and all you're doing is giving them empty compliments all the time, telling them how special and wonderful they are, they know you're full of crap. It's not going to change their behavior at all. They only have pride. Pride changes their behavior. Pride in how they're treating people. Pride in who they are. That's what makes them happy. Not being told they're all these false, empty compliments. It's just ridiculous. You're such a wonderful boy. I don't know why you'd hit. I don't talk like that. You hit someone, here's the consequence. Okay, let's go play now. I just don't get into all that stuff because it's all this empty, it's platitudes and it's empty, and kids don't operate that way. People often say I'm very straightforward because I'm used to working with kids. Kids are straightforward. They don't want all this fluff around the whole point. Parents keep wanting to explain themselves and the reason why we do this, and you're a very special little boy and we love you, but sometimes you make bad mistakes. Oh my God, I just want to vomit. It's a total waste of time. That's for you. That's not for your child. They're like, I would say, yeah, that was bad. Here's the consequence. Okay, let's go to the park now. It's all done. Let's go have fun now. That's their language. That's why they listen to me, because I'm speaking their language. All these mini therapy sessions discussing everything in great detail, that's for you. It's nothing to do, and that's why you're not getting results. Because you're speaking your language. You're not speaking their language. I speak kid. I speak teenager. I speak toddler. That's why they listen to me. Does that make sense? I get a little bit heated because I'm very passionate about this. I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. I had a blast. It was the most fun time my whole life. I had these two little people that I was just friends with, and we laughed every day. We just had a blast. And I want that for you too. And this is how you get there. Getting respect is hard work. Setting yourself up as a leader, you got to earn that. You got to work for that. You got to learn how to do that. Once you're there, it's a piece of cake. It's maintaining it. Like I always say, I never clean dirty. I maintain clean. I'm really fussy and organized. So I never clean dirty. I love having guests. My favorite part of having company is the cleanup afterwards, because I never have a mess to clean up unless I have company over. So yeah, it's like that with respect and with leadership. Maintaining it is easy. Getting it is hard work. I work for that. You got to work for it. Were you quiet a lot? What do you mean? I'm a very loud person naturally who talks a lot, but if my kids ever did something I didn't like, my son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run. He was kidding, but that basically I get quiet when I'm disciplining. I go like this. I go, I didn't like that. What should we do? What do you think we should do? My kids would say, oh, no TV tonight or something. It's usually when they forgot a chore or something little. And I'd say, it's too much. Just give me a scalp massage, brush my hair for 5 minutes. So I get real quiet when I'm disciplining. But maybe that's what you mean. I don't know. But then you're doing it for them, right? Doing what for them? I forgot what I was saying. Doing it for them. What do you mean? I'm curious now. I'm wondering if you're misinterpreting or you got what I'm saying. I don't know what you mean. Well, I have no context around this. This is Sarita. Husband says, I say, be careful too much and I need to let go more. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking to teenagers about driving? Or are you talking to 2-year-olds at the park? I don't know what I have no context, so I can't comment. Okay, they hear anger right when it's my voice. Yes, I need to stop repeating myself. If you get angry when you're disciplining your children, it makes you look weak. It's not a leader. Leaders are very in control. Leaders are very, didn't like that. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. I'm going to get you to wash that window. Okay, do you understand? What's the difference between that and an angry response? You see the difference? They listen when you talk like this. They listen when you talk. Didn't like that. You broke that rule. So let's see. What are we going to do? I got it. We're going to do this or that. So do you understand? Okay. And then I forget. Then I drop it. You see the difference? Kids listen when you talk like that. Where what? Oh, so many times. kids have been really upset with me because I will say something like this. I'll say, I'll tell you what, if you do that again, let's say I'm working with a group of kids in a classroom. If you do that again, you're going to miss your turn, right? Because it's not fair to the other kids. That, let's say they did something bad, mean to the other kids. So if you do that again, just to give them a warning when they're little, I will give them a warning when they're little. So if you do that again, you're going to miss your turn. Then they'll do it again, and I'll sit them beside me. I say, you're going to miss your turn now. And then they'll go, not fair, not fair. And I'm like, I told you were going to miss your turn. Like, I have to let them process that. But you know why they do that? Because their parents wouldn't have followed through. That's a learned behavior. The fact that they argue when I followed through just proves to me their parents aren't consistent, not following through. The poor kid, how confusing for the kid, eh? You threaten something, then you don't even do it. So when I say something, it's going to happen. I'm very careful what I say, though, because I know I have to follow through. One time, stupid of me, I think my son was about 3 or 4, and a friend and I drove down to Dreamworld in the Gold Coast in Australia. We lived in Brisbane, and that's where my kids were born and raised, in Australia. So anyway, we were driving down, and a friend in her car with her kids, because you got car seats, and me in my car with my son. So we get to Dreamworld, and my son just had a cranky look on his face. And we're going all the way down to Dreamworld. It's like Disneyland, right? So we're going all the way down. It's an hour's drive. So we get down there, and he just was in a mood. So I said to him, if you don't put a smile on your face, we're driving home. And my friend went, uh-oh, because she knew I would. And I went, oh, how stupid. I was so mad at myself that I'd said that. I couldn't believe I did that. And sure, he goes like this. And he put a really phony smile on his face. And within a minute, it turned into a real smile. But yeah, I would never say if I said something was going to happen, I had to follow through. So they trust you. So they tend to listen to you because they know you're a person of your word. If you don't follow through, you're a liar. And kids pick up on that. You are lying. You say you're going to do something, you don't do it. You lied. So that makes lying okay for them. They become dishonest and say things. You see, it just becomes a cycle. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Toddler being aggressive with newborn. Yeah, you don't trust a toddler with a newborn. You cannot trust a 2-year-old to babysit or be responsible with a newborn. Just supervise 100% of the time. 100% of the time. There's no way I would leave a toddler with a newborn. My son was 5 when his sister was born, and I would leave him with changing the diapers or whatever. He was 5 years old, so it's totally different. But if he was 2, he was a very gentle little boy. I probably would have left him alone with her. But anyway, it's the bottom line is if you think there's any chance they're going to do anything, yeah, there's no way. You're putting too much responsibility on a 2-year-old. And you said almost 2. I mean, that's a really tiny little kid. You can't teach them to be gentle. It's impossible. Just takes time. How do I make my child know I'm the leader? That's a whole process. There's a whole course on that if you want to learn how to do leadership. So, and you can keep watching this. You'll get a lot of hints on that. Actually, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok soon. You can check out my free behavior board. It starts at the age of 3. I have 4 mini toddler courses on various, they're niche courses. And then I have a big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, teaches you leadership skills. It's a whole course. In 5 weeks, you learn how to be a leader. We start one step at a time. The pool story kind of explains where you want to be with that. But anyway, I already told that story. And then also coaching one-on-one with me. A lot of people want that personal one-on-one touch because it is different. It's all personalized and anyway, so that's done on Zoom. So it doesn't matter where in the world you live. That can all be done on Zoom. Anyway, check out my link, as I just said. And, oh, sorry, I just got to move something over here. And I was going to say something else. Can't remember. Sugar. Anyway, can't remember. I was just going to say something. Anyway, that's all in the link above if you want to check out all that stuff. If not, you can follow me over to TikTok, or you can just see me next time. I'm usually on here every single day. I only have 2 scheduled lives per week, though. And there's no guarantee I'm going to turn up every day. It just depends on what's going on in my day. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm moving over to TikTok. So happy parenting. Sorry, YouTube. I'm just moving over now. Stupid. TikTok. I started on TikTok. That's where 2 years ago, I went on TikTok. And yeah, I love TikTok. I don't understand any of it, but I love it. Hello, just getting started. You might have joined me. Just says up top, welcome to the Winter Carnival. What the heck is that? I never know what's going on in here. All these little messages up top there. I don't know what's going on. What's the winter carnival? Where is that? Probably millions of winter carnivals around. I guess you're supposed to click on that like an ad or something, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining me. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course from 3 to 12 years old. It's all about your leadership. It's not about the kids. It's about you. And then, or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. So, and I'm just here to answer your parenting questions. I do this for an hour and a half. I go from Facebook to Instagram, and now I'm on TikTok. And I'm on YouTube the whole time, and that's saved on YouTube. So all of my lives are saved on YouTube. Anyway, so let's get going with your parenting questions. Okay, someone asked me on YouTube, Evelyn, how do you co-parent healthy and not toxic? You mean with an ex? I've actually done that. You always put the kids first. That's, so I got neighbors with a dog outside there. Can you hear it? Anyway, okay, how do you co-parent? You always put the kids, I used to teach a course actually, and it was called Parenting Through Divorce. Are you talking about co-parenting with an ex? Yeah, you just have to put the kids first. And you don't have to have the same style. 2 different households can have 2 completely different styles. The thing is, the kids tend to form under the leader's umbrella because they're drawn to that leader. They like themselves the most with the leader. So they tend to be formed under the leader's umbrella, and they'll even tattle on the pleaser or the other parent. So, because they don't like it as much. They like that leadership umbrella. So long as you're both, and then usually if you're on the same page, you both like the kids when they're, under the leadership umbrella, then you'll usually be on the same page, which is a good way to be. My ex and I were very much on the same page with the kids, so we never had any problems. We always put them first. Actually, it's funny because I never ever think of him as my ex. I have no memory hardly at all of ever being with him. Like he's just the father of my children. I'm very lucky that way. Like we just instantly, as soon as we separated, he's the dad of my kids. That's it. So if you can look at it that way, you chose to be with that person and have kids with them. So now you're with them for the rest of your life, and just make the most of it. And I took the high road. So did he, luckily. But if we hadn't, I would still have taken the high road and made sure that he's always in their life. And, that's the father of my kids. So you gotta, they are part of that person. And it doesn't even matter what that other person's like. That is part of who they are. So be really careful with that. Favorite style of correction for your 2-year-old? It's consistent corrective actions. It's not words. You say the word no just to show them that you're taking action. But it's consistent corrective actions, and they learn through repetition. They won't learn the first time, maybe the 50th time, because they learn through repetition. But you got to be consistent. If you get it 9 times out of 10, they'll remember the one time you didn't. They just do. Brilliant memories for when you messed up. My son, I don't know, he was a teenager, and we were laughing at all the dumb things I've done as a mother. Made a lot of mistakes, but my kids are very quick to point them out because they had a voice. Believe me, they had a voice. So, because you don't want obedient soldiers here, you want kids with high self-esteem and a voice. Anyway. So he was saying, remember the time you did this? And remember the time you did that? All the dumb things I've done as a mother. And then, so we were laughing and laughing. And I said, what about all the great stuff I did? And he went, what? They just remember your mistakes. They love that stuff. So, yeah. Also, I remember once I was saying, my son's very quick to point this stuff out. And so I said, I'm really good at apologizing. And I am, because there's 4 steps to apologizing. And I said, I'm really good at it. And he says, well, that's because you've had so much practice. It's like, If you don't apologize to your kids, you're doing something wrong. Because they're always watching you. They're not listening to you as much as they're watching you. So if you're good at apologizing, so are your kids. Both my kids are. And yeah. I'm going to tell you the 4 steps to apologizing just because I like this. It's good for adults too. A lot of adults don't know how to apologize. They just say, sorry. And then if you don't say, that's okay, they go, well, you're not very forgiving. Because if someone does something and they just go, oh, sorry about that, I'll just say, oh, okay. I never say that's okay. Oh, that's okay. I don't say that ever. Because where's the 4 steps? I'm waiting for them. I'm waiting for anyway, here they go. This is if you've done something wrong to someone, you kept them waiting for a half hour, whatever it is, you've done something wrong. And so this is what you do. You say, I'm sorry. So I don't even care about that. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is you take full accountability. Say, I'm sorry, it was all my fault. Don't say, I'm sorry I yelled. I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't done that. So take full accountability. It was all your fault. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. It was my fault. Then the 3rd step, make amends. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? What a loving thing to do for someone if you messed up. Say, what can I do to make it up to you? If they don't come up with something, you do it. Like if I was late somewhere, which is rare, but if I'm ever late, it's because of traffic or something happened. And then I would say, hey, how about I buy the popcorn at the movie, make it up to you? Or something, I always make amends. And then the last one is don't keep doing it again. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that apology meant squat. So yeah, 4 steps to apologizing. And adults can learn this. Can't stand it when people say sorry, and then you say, if you don't say it's okay, and you say, well, you're not very forgiving. Where's the amends? Where's the like he didn't finish apologizing? Where is it? Where is it? One word. Oh, sorry, I killed your whole family. You're not very forgiving. It's like that one word. It's given way too much power these days. If someone says they're sorry, it's like it doesn't matter what they do or how often they do it. They said the word sorry, and you're supposed to forgive them. Forgiveness is overrated, and apologies are underrated. Is that right? Did I say that right? I don't know. Probably wrong. Doesn't matter. Thankfully, I'm good at apologizing and taking accountability. It takes confidence to admit when you're wrong, and a lot of people are very insecure. That's why they can't apologize. Heaven forbid they should admit they're wrong. What a silly way to be, because everyone's wrong sometimes. And what do you think, you're perfect? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. We're all going to mess up. That's just the way it is. Life's messy. Things are messy. That could get me off on a whole other spiel too. There's certain things, yeah, you'd apologize, but if you do big stuff, no, I don't think other people should have to put up with crap either. So it's just when I say apologize, I don't mean for doing something awful. I mean just for doing something like you forgot something or whatever. Okay, is hitting normal for an 18-month-old, and is temper tantrums common at this age? Yeah, but I'll read you. There are 4 annoying traits that kids are either born to do or they're never going to do. It's just in your DNA. You're born to do this, but you can train them out of this stuff, okay? So number 1 is tantrums. They're either going to have them or they're never going to have them. I've never had one. My daughter's never had one. My son had them. So I knew when he was in the womb, he was going to have them, because I would push his foot down. You know how they stick their foot up in your lungs just about, and I'd push it down. He'd push back and move around like crazy. And I thought, ooh, he's going to have a temper. Whereas my daughter, I'd push her foot down. She'd pull it in and wouldn't move for an hour. She was like, ooh, like that. So yeah, it's just a feisty little temper. So they're either going to have tantrums or they're not. The other one is climbing. They're either going to climb or they're not. The other one is running. They're never going to look behind to see where you are. They're just going to take off. It often goes with climbing because it's no fear based. And the last one is aggressiveness. They're either going to hit or they're never going to hit. Those are 4 things they're either born to do or they're not. And you can train them out of this stuff. I have a course on hitting, and I also have a course on tantrums. They're different. If they hit during a tantrum, that's the tantrum course. But if they hit just because they hit, they're aggressive kids, that's that course. They're different. Do you have any tips for leadership? Everything I talk about is leadership. So yeah. There's not a one sentence for leadership. It basically is you're bringing out the best in your kids, and they like themselves when they're with you. That's your power. But how you do that, I have a whole course on that. So it takes 5 weeks to learn how to do that in the course. Aren't tantrums hitting developmentally normal? They don't all do it though. Yeah, they are normal for some kids. Sometimes going like this and smearing poop on the wall is developmentally normal for some kids, but they're not all going to do it. So yeah, some of them do it, some of them don't. I've failed at the behavior in the past. How should I restart with my 4-year-old? Well, they're only 4. A lot of my clients have 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and we have to start from scratch with that age. It's doable, but it's a lot harder at that age because there's history, and we do it very differently with teenagers. Anyway, check out the behavior board's completely free. You can start there, or you can check out the boot camp course. That's more intensive, and it goes over 5 weeks, and it's all focused on you and your leadership. And it's all paced out. It's not 5 weeks of hell. It's like 1 rule per week, and you start slow, and it's all because I've been doing this now for 17 years, teaching parents, and I've paced it out. And also I had a group going through that with me, and they helped me do that too. A group of parents helped me build that course. So, which is really fun. All my courses are like that. Most of my courses, they said the same thing. I put too much in them, especially the toddler ones. So I cut those all like in half. And then some people say there's not enough in them. I can't win. But anyway, So yeah, parents, they all want something a bit different, but parents have helped me develop everything that I do. Because I don't teach what I did with my own kids, because I was already a leader when I had kids. I knew how to do it. I had tons of experience with kids. I don't teach that. I teach you from scratch, assuming you have no leadership skills, you have no experience with kids. That's what I teach. What I did is different. I don't teach what I did. Um, okay, you said you're 20-month, how old? Your, I don't know, 20-month-old is hitting. Check out the Toddlers Who Hit, etc. course. It's one of my mini toddler courses. Just check that out. But yeah, it's consistent corrective actions every single time they do it. You can't put them on the behavior board till they're 3. A 3-year-old can stop and think before they act. It doesn't mean they're going to, but they have the ability to stop and think before they act. But under that age, no, they're all about impulse control. That's why you do consistent corrective action. It interrupts that process. It interrupts that impulse. But it takes time, repetition. There's a very specific way that learning, some of my clients are child psychologists and they've explained what, I don't know what it means. They keep telling me what it is and I know what it is, but I can't say it because it's too fancy for me. Like it's not my style because I'm not a child psychologist. I don't know anything about it. But the consistent corrective actions interrupts the impulse. So they learn differently. It's not so much they stop and think, just something in them just it interrupts that impulse. That's why you have to do it repetitively with toddlers. But a 3-year-old can stop and think before they do it. Toddler can't. The impulse can be interrupted. There's a difference. It's a different way of learning. Do you have any tips for leadership with kids? Everything I talk about is leadership. The behavior board, that's completely free. It's all in the link above. And wait 10 minutes. It'll turn up in your inbox, not right away. I've got like some third-party delivery system. So it might turn up within 1 minute. It might turn up within 10 minutes. I do that. I'm signing up for something and then I'm like this. It hasn't turned up. It hasn't turned up. And sure enough, it'll turn up sometimes 30 minutes later. But it depends on what system people have their information on. But yeah, I do that too. I get like really impatient. Like I just signed up for it. Where is it? But yeah, it can take a few minutes. How would you keep communication open with kids and teenagers? Oh my God, that's so important. A leader is always a good listener, a safe place to land. I told my mother everything, and my kids told me everything. I was a safe place to land. You become really good at listening. It's kind of, I say that one of the tips for parenting teenagers is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Like when my kids were telling me stuff, I'd say, yeah, that would be frustrating. So what do you think you should do about that? You know? Like I never just said, here's what you should do. I never told them what to do. I made them figure it out themselves. But I was, well, I remember what I did when I was doing that. And then they keep them talking. And then they'll tell you everything. If you're just going to tell them what to do all the time, and you're not teaching them to think for themselves and problem solve for themselves, you don't want that. Yeah, they're going to be too dependent. You want them to problem solve on their own. But you're right there to talk to about everything. And you're kind of guiding them along the way, but you're not telling them what to do. But yeah, my son, he was 15 and he said to me, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. He was mad when he said it too. He wanted to rebel because all his friends were rebelling and he wasn't. He said, you're a really difficult mom to have. And I was a single mom. He says, you're a really difficult mom to have. And I was shocked. I thought I was great. We were like buddies and everything. And I said, why? And he goes, because I've got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. He was mad. I said, fine, go clean your room. And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. But yeah, I was reasonable and easy to talk to. So you want that because then they can't rebel. What do you have to rebel against? Did I have rules? Oh, yes. Yes, I did. We didn't really talk about them. Yeah, like he had no curfew or anything. I don't believe in curfews. Doesn't mean they can stay out all night. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, I don't believe in curfews. Like that's micromanaging a teenager. I don't do that. My bottom line is keep the communication open. Be a really good listener, not a lecturer. Be a really good, focus on this, not this. Be a really good listener and they'll tell you everything. My almost 3-year-old throws everything. I've tried taking away item. What can I do? I would just keep taking stuff away. And it's because I always say it's about, oh, it's 3 years old. Wait a minute, 3 years old. Throws everything. What do you mean everything? Food. It's different with different things. Food, remote controls, toys. I need to know, what are they throwing away? Is it food? Is it remote controls, like precious household items you don't want them to throw and break? Or is it toys? Very different answers for all of those. So I meant that I failed at the behavior board. My fault. How should I restart the behavior? Oh, you failed at the behavior board. Lots of people do. Lots of people do. Just start again. Make it look different, though. Say, yeah, I messed that up. You know what I would do? If you failed at it recently and your kids are very aware of it, say, look, I got a brand new behavior board. I messed up on the last one. So it was my bad. I apologize for that. I want to take you out for ice cream to make it up to you, or something like that. So you got to make amends because you messed up. That shows fresh start, brand new behavior board. It's going to be different this time. When you mess up, you got to make amends with your kids. Own it. Just say, I messed up. Didn't know what I was doing. Stupid me. Oh, well. That's what I would say. Oh, well. But I got a brand new one, and this one's going to work. If you fail with the second round, it's harder. Each time you fail, a lot of people who hire me have hired me because they can't get the behavior board going. And I always say, if you're on the fence of hiring me, better to not do a behavior board and fail on your own first. And often I'll push you so you'll fail with me. I can use that to my advantage when I'm coaching you. I can actually use that to make things better. But don't do that on your own. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, just start again. Apologize for messing up, because that's your job to make that behavior board work. It's not that the kids aren't going to be breaking rules, but you're going to be following through with the consequences. You probably made it something too difficult. Make it easy. Make your bed. That's your rule. Make your bed and follow through with that. If they don't make their bed, they have to make everyone's bed or help with the laundry. If they won't do that, media blackout for 24 hours. Make it easy. Make it doable. If you're working with me, we're going to make it more difficult, because if you do fail, I know how to use that to our advantage. I'll learn. I usually push people because I learn. I learn more through your failures than your successes. I've been doing this for a long time. I've just figured that out. Because if everything goes well, it's like, well, that's no fun. It's because everyone makes mistakes when I'm coaching them. That's how we learn. We learn more through our mistakes. So if everyone says, oh yeah, it was perfect, everything went great, I'm like, oh, I didn't push hard enough. I need to push you a little bit harder. So yeah, that's how we learn. Okay, toys and drink bottles. Okay, so let's go with the toys. If they throw toys, you say no. By the way, get a toy rotation system going. So there's only like 5 toys to throw. So you only have to do this 5 times. So you say no, and you pick it up and put it away. 3 years old, though. No throwing toys on the behavior board. Sorry, they're 3 years old. I forgot. Put down no throwing toys on the behavior board. And then when they do, then there's a consequence. You check out the behavior board, you'll see how it's done. But yeah, sorry, I forgot they were 3 years old. And the rule is no throwing toys. And then don't worry about the other stuff. You could. I don't know exactly what's going on. It's really hard to say don't throw anything if you're new at this. I would, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I would say just don't throw toys, because then maybe all their toys get put away for the rest of the day. Yeah, I'm just thinking it could go in so many different directions. Oh, if they throw food. So, and also, I'm really strict about this. I don't think there's any reason to have kids with food or drink around the house. I think that's ludicrous in my mind. I just don't see the reason for that. My kids knew they never got to eat or drink anything unless they were sitting at the table. They could have a little sippy cup of water, and that was it. No juice or milk or anything around the house. But they could have water around the house, and they were very good with that. My daughter wasn't. She was more of a spiller, so she had to sit at the kitchen table. But they never argued it because they didn't know any different. And they would go to friends' houses and they'd be walking around making messes everywhere, chocolate all over the curtains. It was just filthy. And my kids would just sit at the kitchen table eating, and friends were like, what's your kid doing? And so they don't know how to eat unless they're sitting at the kitchen table. So now I'm assuming that you've got a rule that they have to sit at the table when they're eating, right? Sort of organizes, makes you look like more of a leader too. This is where you eat and that's it. You don't eat anywhere else. So if they throw food, then you throw it away and you say, okay, well, we're all done. Then pack everything up and then that's it. So they can have a snack later on, like in about an hour. They will survive. But yeah, once they throw food at 3 years old, I would pack everything up. And then I don't know if I would do this. There's so many different ways I could go. Then I might, if they really need to eat and it's dinner time and they've just thrown something and it's the very first, they just sat down, then I would pick up the food, throw it in the garbage. Then I would take their plate and I would hand feed them. hand feed them. They're going to have an absolute fit. It's going to be a total disaster, and that's okay. You just taught them you're in charge. There's no way I would give them food after they threw it. It just wouldn't, they wouldn't have it in their hands at all. No way. It's like, yeah, you don't throw food, here you go. They learn. They just do. They just learn. Parents struggle with this. Kids are easy. Kids are a piece of cake. I find kids easy. Parents are hard because well, I can't do that. I can't do it. Well, that's what you have to do. I think that everyone wants the rainbow, but they don't want to go through the storm. And it's like with dieting. If you go to a diet center and they say, well, this is what you have to do. You have to cut your calories. Oh, there has to be another way. I can't cut calories. I can only tell you what to do. If you can't get yourself to do it, there's not much I can help you with. Like what I mean is I'm giving you good sound advice here. And if you're not willing to follow through with it, it ain't going to work. Like if you're going to do it some days and not others, it's never going to work. It has to be consistent. That's why we start small. We start with one rule per week. Oh goodness, no. I have a big time back talking 4-year-old. Can that be a rule? Absolutely not. You don't put that well, obviously, no, that cannot go on the behavior board. You never put attitude on that behavior board, and you've taught your 4-year-old to do that. Past the age of 3 years old, and certainly 3.5, they're only doing what works. It means that you've taught them that's okay to do. At 4 years old, they know. Yeah, you've taught them. You've been accepting of that for some reason. So yeah, you cannot put attitude on there. It just means that you're not a leader and they don't respect you. It's just a byproduct of that. It's what I call a tell. If they're back talking at 4 years old, work on your leadership. Their behavior between 3 and 12 years old is 100% a direct result of your parenting. So instead of blaming a kid, look in a mirror and say, what am I missing here? When I was working with kids, if they didn't know me yet, they would sometimes be rude to me. And I would always think, what am I missing here? I never blame the kids. I always blame myself. When I was working with troubled teenagers, if they got in trouble, I'd say, yeah, okay, well, obviously I'm not a good enough mentor for you. You wouldn't have done that. I'm going to have to work on myself. And they were so confused by that. Like, what? I was blaming myself for these troubled teenagers that I saw 1 hour a week. A leader takes full responsibility for the child's actions. You're the parent. 4-year-old who's back talking, that's on you. That's you. Okay, work on your leadership skills. That would not happen. It just wouldn't. It just doesn't. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. You lead, they will follow. 3 to 12 years old, their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. 100%. Not their basic personality or their basic nature, that's them. But their behavior, how they treat people, that's you. You've trained them how to treat people. Yeah, children have a natural instinct to want, need, and crave a leader. They just do. If you're not a leader for them, they are lost. They don't feel safe. They're back talking. That's their way of saying, lead me, I'm lost. Parent me, I need it. That's what they're saying to you when they're back talking. If you're not a leader at home, they're going to go searching for it elsewhere. They're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very vulnerable to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be extremely vulnerable because they don't have a leader. They're not vulnerable at all when they've got a leader at home. I was never bullied. My kids were never bullied. And I never bullied. They never bullied because we both had leaders at home. Someone we could talk to and tell everything to. So yeah, think about that. Anyway, check out my boot camp course. That might be perfect for you. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. It teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. It's work. Start small though. It should get easier by about week 3. Everyone wants week 4. Don't go there. Wait, you have to go there in week 4. Don't rush it. You can't rush that course. It's paced out a certain way. You can lengthen it, extend it by maybe a week or 2, but then you lose momentum if you go past that. But yeah, don't rush to week 4. Everyone wants that. That's all I ever did was week 4. The first 3 weeks are training you how to get to week 4. Anyway, and 5 is sort of rinse and repeat with, anyway. So check out that course if you're interested. Teaches you how to be a leader. What's funny is whenever I say that, it's your fault when your kids are acting out. Whenever I say that to people, they're very, the funny thing is they don't have a problem blaming their kids. So they blame their kids for all that. But I'd rather blame myself than my kids. Like, what does that say? Why are you quite comfortable blaming your children for their behavior, but not blaming yourself? I find that fascinating. It's psychological. I know why, but I mean, it's But think about it. It's quite fascinating. Like if a kid is acting out and I'm in charge and I only just met the kid, if they're acting out, that's my fault. What am I doing wrong here? What am I missing? Yeah, it is black and white thinking. It is, absolutely, because it works. I've been doing this. I've been working with kids for 52 years. It just works a charm. I know how to get respect. Am I clever? Do I outsmart kids? God, no. I actually play stupid. I go the other way. I'm just like them. I make mistakes. Life is messy. I'm messy, but I do know how to lead. I never set myself up as being holier than thou or more clever by any means. Believe me, it's not my style at all. But I'm very goofy. I'm very funny with kids and fun, and they love that. I enter their world, and they love that, and they listen to you. So it is black and white thinking. Be a leader. Toilet training regression. That's when you've already potty trained them and then they regress back. There's lots of different reasons for that, so I can't generalize why they do that. But oftentimes it's because you started too early or something has happened that's upset them. So it's usually an event. Something has usually happened that makes them regress, or you started too early. I do have a potty training course. It's one of my mini toddler courses. It's called Potty Party. I can't remember. Anyway, I trained my son in 1 day and my daughter in 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But I was already a leader, but it's a really good way. That's why it works so well. But it's a really good way to exercise your leadership. By the way, if you're afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum with your kids, which a lot of parents are, they want to avoid it at all costs. Big mistake. You want to bring that on. If they're going to have a fit scene or a tantrum because you're not giving in to them, bring it on, because that is your opportunity to exercise your leadership. I always tell this story, but I worked with this 8-year-old and he didn't know me. It was our very first time together. And I said no to him. He wanted something ridiculous. And I said, no, you can't have that. And he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he went like that and he didn't have a fit at all. Like, it was like, whoa, he didn't know who he was up against. I have no fear of a fit scene or a tantrum. Bring it on. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. That's where change happens. If you're afraid of your kids, they're in charge, guaranteed, and they know it. Can you start too late? Someone asked. Well, a lot of my clients have teenagers. It is harder when they're teenagers, yes, for sure, but it can still be done. It's a very humbling experience when you've got teenagers, very humbling, because you have to back up an awful lot. Your expectations have to lower and you have to rise. You have to take the high road way more than you want to, but it works. And I always say, just invest in this for about 3 weeks and then see where we are, and then you'll see the difference. But it's usually 3 to 6 months with teenagers, like 15 and up. So that's never too late. It's just more work, which makes sense, right? Should I ignore tantrums in a new 2-year-old? Yeah, you do, but there's a way of ignoring tantrums. I do have a tantrum course if you're interested. But anyway, it's like they start screaming and having a fit, and you're right there. Don't go on your phone and don't get in a discussion. It's important that they know you know they're having a tantrum and you're waiting for it to stop. They have to know that you know they're doing it, and you're right there. You don't leave them. You might be filing your nails, looking at the birds in the trees. Every so often, you don't get eye contact, but every so often you might look down like this, like you're still just waiting. They can be grabbing onto you, but you don't reach down to them. I miss you. I would not give that any attention at all. They can survive. Anyway, now as soon as they're done, say, oh, you all done? Okay, you want to do a puzzle? You want to play a game? You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. They don't learn the first time. It'll probably get worse initially because they remember you giving in before. And any attention is feeding a tantrum. When you get good at ignoring a tantrum this way, the proper way, they will decrease in duration, intensity, and frequency, and eventually just disappear because they don't work. Kids stop doing what doesn't work. So, and they have to learn how to go into a tantrum, how to have one, and how to get out all by themselves. If you interrupt that process, they're never going to learn that. You're always going to have to go in and save the day. Here, do you want some candy? They're teenagers having a fit. You want some money? Here's a new car. If you're always going in trying to save the day, they're never going to learn how to get themselves out of these scenes. You got to allow them to learn how to process this stuff all by themselves. It does. If that destroys them emotionally, like some of these people say, oh my God, you're not meeting their emotions and their feelings and all that garbage. If your toddler cannot handle being ignored in that way during a tantrum, you got bigger fish to fry. Your child does not feel loved and safe. There's something else wrong in your family. So yeah, work on that. When they know you're a leader and they feel loved and treasured, they have no problem with that. Because they're only tantruming because they didn't get what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Okay? If they're emotional because you're not meeting their needs, they don't feel loved, they don't feel safe, that's a different thing. I'm assuming your children are loved and feel safe, and then they can handle that. Not every single emotion and feeling has to be addressed and rewarded with attention. Okay, I took this advice from your prior videos and it has worked wonders. Thank you. You're very welcome. I get the most beautiful emails and comments from parents, and I really appreciate that because that helps other parents know that this stuff can work. And I'm not for everybody. I mean, if I don't resonate with you, you're never going to do it anyway. Move on to someone else. But I do think this is really important. If you're going to take parenting advice, it is experience-based. And what you do is take advice from someone who's, number one, finished the job. Have they lived with teenagers? Are their kids functioning young adults now or adults now? So they have to have finished the job, or else how can they teach it? It would be like taking advice from someone, financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. How can they teach parenting if they only have little kids? It makes no sense at all to me. Number two is they have to have experience with hundreds of other kids. My kids were easy. They weren't challenging in any way. So not in a big way. My son had tantrums, but that was it. But yeah, I've worked with kids with all sorts of stuff going on, physically, mentally, abused children, everything. So they have to be heavily experience-based with hundreds of kids, and they have to finish the job with their own. There's too much inexperienced advice out there, and it's frustrating because then I have to repair that stuff. Because if you only have young children, how do you know where that's going? How do you know if you're investing in the right stuff? Oftentimes it's, blows up down the road. Okay. I take it you're against gentle parenting. Never studied it. I've never read a book on anything. I am very careful about that. So I talk about the old-fashioned authority style parenting, and I talk about the new style please your parent, trying to make everything easy for your kids, trying to avoid scenes, these mini therapy sessions, and then yelling. It usually goes with yelling. Please your parents usually yell a lot too. So those are the two things I talk about. I don't specifically talk about any parenting style because I've never looked at them. Why would I? I'm kid taught. My competition is of no interest to me because I know what I'm talking about and I only teach what I'm talking about. So yeah. And are we competition anyway? I don't see it that way. I don't think it's like religion. Are they competition, or it's just different things suit different people? Like I don't have any problem with different ways of life or anything, different cultures. So yeah, it's whatever suits you. If I don't resonate with you, go move on to something else. I'm never trying to please people here. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make parenting fun and enjoyable and easy for you. That is my goal. If you hate my guts, but I'm helping you, I'm okay with that. I'm not here to please you or to be liked at all. I'm here to help you. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to be good at it. I want you to be proud of yourselves. I want you to be happy parents. I want you to have happy families. That is my goal. I'm very driven with all this stuff, obviously. That's why when people used to come at me on here, it means nothing to me. Like they'd attack me when I first came online, like a couple years ago, I really came online heavily. And I've been doing this forever, but I was more on the old TV and radio stuff because I'm old, right? So, but anyway, I hit social media a couple of years ago pretty hard. And the hatred that came out, I can care less. Like it just doesn't mean anything to me because I know what I'm doing. And it's not going to appeal to everybody. And it's a free way what I mean by this is it's given me a lot of power within myself in that I don't worry about what anyone else is doing because I am kid taught. Kids taught me all this. They taught me everything, pretty much about myself and life and everything, because we all started out as kids. And if you really pay attention to kids, especially teenagers, you're going to learn more about human nature than talking to any adult. If you start studying kids, especially teenagers, because they're fresh. They've got the same better brain power than us. And they're fresh. Yeah, they're fascinating. I find kids fascinating. Anyway. Oops. Oh, I have to get going. I've gone overtime now. I can always tell because my throat's starting to hurt. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years older. You can hire me for coaching. That's all done on Zoom, one-on-one. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's usually an hour a week. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again tomorrow sometime. Happy parenting.